Welcome back. Well, today I thought we would go back to our airport plan for emergency preparedness and take a look at our fifth step, which is O, for organizing. So we will get to that when we come back. All right, well, we took a look at A, assessment. We looked at our situation. We took a cold calculating look at what our needs are and what our options are. The next step was inventory. We know what we need. We know what we have. The inventory was what we have. Our possessions, the stuff we have that will help us get through a disaster, and our skills are part of our inventory. Then we took a look at our resources. Those are the things that we might not have, but they are available to us for our plans. Everything from, family and friends who could help us out, public transportation, everything that is a resource to us. And then last time, P, we discussed the plan. Remember, we need two plans. We need a stay-in-place plan, shelter in place, hunker in the bunker, what we're doing now, and we need an evacuation plan. And the reason we need two plans is because we're always going to have our preference, but we do not necessarily have our choice in every possible situation. Right now, even if we had somewhere to go, most of us are not allowed to go there, so we're sheltering in place. If this were a hurricane, as we know from Katrina, from other disasters in the past, we could face forced evacuation. So we need to do this on our own terms. Now, today, this is one of the most fun parts for me. It's one of the most challenging, one of the most engaging. This is where you can just haul the whole family in, have a good time with this. And this is organizing. This is where we start amassing everything we need to instantiate our plan. And once we got our stuff, we got to figure out what to do with it. So that's where the organizing comes in. First steps in organizing are always right back to our assessment. If you have 4 people, you need to determine your shelter-in-place plan, the duration. If you have 4 people, you want to be prepared to shelter in place for 2 weeks. That means you need 14 meals for 4 people, and you need water, you need pet food, you need medications, you need to have everything in place for this. Oh, and by the way, I speak of food before water, but in reality, water is the most important thing. Keep in mind, you can go for weeks without food. You will not starve to death in a few days. You will die of dehydration in a few days. Always take care of your water situation first. And how you do this, and this is just part of our organization, you need to know where your nearest bodies of drinking water are. I have a creek not far from me. It's about a mile up the road in 2 different directions. Same creek makes a loop. It's a mile to the north. It's a mile to the west. Jocelyn, by the way, has that same creek about 500 feet from her front door. So if she has to send the kids down there with buckets, it's going to be a lot easier. She can just tell them they're playing Little House on the Prairie. They'll never know the difference. In my case, yeah, if I have to use the creek, I'm going to have to be carting water for a mile. And it's a question of, do I have the facilities to do this? If something happened right now and I needed water and I had to go get it from the creek, do I even have the buckets? How would I transport it, etc.? It's part of our organization. But as I mentioned before, it's relatively easy to store water safely on your property. You just need large enough containers. Drums, trash cans are very good. You need to make sure that the water is treated, and regular chlorine bleach will do that. And there's water. That's not going to be good enough for most of us, because one of the things that I have noticed in this pandemic is there is no bottled water in my area anywhere. Whoa, I'm sorry, I take that back. The kind of bottled water I like is in my area. I like the little flavored bottles of, it's flavored water, basically. For some reason, they are not cleaning that off the shelves. So I can get my water, I'm fine. And I'm not sure why they're not cleaning that off the shelves, but regular bottled water is gone. The shelves are just stripped bare. And this is every store I have been in for the last month. That's the way it is. So, storing water is something you can do, and by that I mean bottled water, as long as you circulate that water. Make sure you're turning it over regularly. Do you ordinarily drink bottled water? Do you send it off with the kids? Do you take it when you go walking? Is this something you do? If so, great. Go out, get some water. However long you're planning to shelter in place for, whatever your plan is, get that much water and then use it and replenish it. Keep it going. What you don't want to do is stockpile water that you're not going to be using and leave it month after month after month. Because I know you're probably thinking it's water, it'll last forever. Gee, no, it won't. Plastic is not an oxygen barrier. It's in plastic bottles. It can get contaminated. It can get stale, stagnant, This happens. So if you're going to include bottled water, remember, rotate it. And we talked about this when we talked about food storage. Store what you eat what you store. That's the rule. If you have to write it on the refrigerator, do it. Because your food storage is not something that's going to go into a closet and you're not going to look at it until eventually, we have another pandemic or we have a hurricane, the power goes out, snowstorm, we're all blocked in. No. You need to be constantly circulating that food into your family's regular meals and replenishing it. And this is actually really positive. This is not something you should look at as a negative at all, because what it's going to do is it's going to give you a chance to experiment with different foods. Some of us, in fact, ordinarily eat foods out of cans. Some of us like canned food. Some of us like fresh food. And for those of us who are fresh food eaters, living on canned food might present a hardship. By moving canned food into our diet gradually, not every meal, but a couple of meals a week, we'll be used to it. It won't be strange and alien if we have to live off this food. And that's what organizing is all about. Ideally, you are going to want to free up some space in your home for an extra few weeks of provisions. This can be space that you're just not using right now. For me, the one thing I have learned from this is I am going to go out and get a very large package of toilet paper, and I'm going to stick it under my bed. The only thing that is under my bed is dust bunnies and a large plastic storage box on wheels that is currently completely empty. I got that some time ago. I had this idea because, I get these stupid ideas that I was going to throw all my winter sweaters in there and just roll it under the bed, and, it won't take up any space. And I never quite got around to doing that because the sweaters are still perfectly happy in the drawers, and I've got it. Maybe I'll stick canned goods in that and shove it back in there. Toilet paper. But that is usually the situation most people have under their beds. It's this large space, and yeah, you don't go in there every day, but it's a perfect place to store things that do not need rotation, i.e. toilet paper. Because remember, when we're looking at maintaining ourselves in our home for a period of time, in excess of a couple of weeks, and as I said before, conventional wisdom was always you would plan for anywhere from 3 days to 2 weeks, depending on your circumstances, and that it would not be necessary to plan for more than 2 weeks. The only people who were planning for more than 2 weeks were, the serious preppers or the folks that were up in the mountains writing their manifestos. And let's face it, we don't want to be emulating them because the manifesto writers are not well. Now we're looking at this and whoa, everything that everybody, and this is like including FEMA, this is everybody who was considered to be in a position of knowledge and authority. Everything they told us is right out the window. We need way more than 2 weeks. I'm sure there are people who are still in trouble over the toilet paper issue. We were very fortunate, as you know. I was able to get toilet paper for my neighbors across the street. I was able to get toilet paper for Jocelyn's parents. This was, lucky is what it was. Lucky. Because they were not able to get toilet paper for themselves, but I found a store that sold it. Whoa. And frankly, in both cases, when I ran off with toilet paper, I ran off with the last large package. It was like, I'm taking this in my cart. You want it, you fight me for it. But the thing that I learned from this is I really need to reconsider how much I want to prepare in some ways. Maybe not everything. I might not say, well, I figure I need 6 weeks worth of bottled water. No, that's probably not what I'm going to plan on. Am I going to plan on 6 weeks worth of toilet paper? Yes. And if I decide I have a craving for iced tea, which is another thing that's way off the shelves, I might actually sit back and ask myself how much iced tea I would drink in an average 6-week period, because I haven't seen iced tea in a month, and I don't think I'm going to see it for at least another month. So that's another thing that is really good about doing this sort of preparation right now. I know what's not available in my stores. You know what's not available in your stores. I bet some of you are just sitting high on the hog on stacks of toilet paper, right? I'm sure some of you have plenty of bottled water. I'm sure some of you have plenty of iced tea. You're probably short on things that we have around here. Laundry detergent. We have plenty of laundry detergent. Bleach, I haven't had any trouble getting bleach, which is good because I do love my bleach. Other people are probably having difficulty with this. So just make notes of that on your list. What is off the shelves in your stores? So for me, I'm going to look at securing a little extra toilet paper. And you may want to take a look at securing a little extra of something else. All depends on what's fled the shelves in your area. So I'm still pretty much looking at, 2 solid weeks worth of food. I'm still, even though, as I say, we're far exceeding 2 weeks in this lockdown, that's still probably what I'm looking at, because I tend to keep a lot of food in my cabinets regardless. I get Audie's cat food from a pet servicing. They deliver the food, and so it's in huge, massive bags. So he has enough cat food to last him a very, very long time. And believe me, my baby doesn't go without. So I don't have to worry about that. I do need to think about when I'm going to want to reorder, because I wouldn't want to become very unlucky and have a disaster strike when I'm very low on cat food and an order isn't coming in. So that's another thing that I'm going to have to think about, just to make sure that I have the reordering in line when I am, well, I don't want to be below 2 or 3 weeks worth of cat food when I order the next bag. And I don't think that's going to be an issue for me. So basically, I'm still kind of working with that 2-week guideline. But I think the longer this goes on, the more likely I am to start to reassess that. So no plan, by the way, is at all useful if you cannot bring it into being, if you cannot instantiate it. So one of the other things we have to look at in our organizational phase is not just where we're going to store the stuff, but how we're going to obtain the stuff. And I thought we'd talk about some of the low-cost options. The Mormon Church, they tell their members that they need to store 2 years worth of food. That's just a fact. Do all Mormons do this? Oh, goodness, no. Not at all. In fact, a lot of Mormons will sort of nominally keep 2 years worth of food by getting large, like 50-gallon drums of wheat. Wheat properly sealed, by the way, will last almost forever. We have wheat that they have found in the pyramids of Egypt that will still germinate. So wheat is like a forever food. But if you have a 50-gallon drum of wheat and you cannot process the wheat, turn it into flour, something you can use, you don't have a grinder, if you don't have the skills, you basically have a large 50-gallon paperweight. So I would say absolutely don't do that. If you are a Mormon, don't do it. I know that it's very easy to get your hands on these large supplies of wheat, but certainly you need to be more practical. The Mormons, however, have grocery stores, and these stores are actually designed to provide long-term storage foods. So you can find them online. I don't know if they are currently doing mail order online business, but they have them in a lot of areas. There's one, now I'm in Pennsylvania, which is not known for being Mormon country, but they have a temple right outside Washington, D.C. It's in Kensington, Maryland, and it's about maybe 2 hours south of me. So I actually do have a Mormon store nearby. You can just go online. Mormon store. Actually, I think you would put LDS store in the search engine. That's for Latter-day Saints. And find them. They're in like half the states of the country, so you can probably find one nearby. There are a lot of resources like that. The big box stores, what are they, Costco and Sam's Club and places like that, where you buy the bulk stores. That's what they are. It's not big boxes, bulk stores. You can use those. You can save a great deal of money. Do you need to? No. You can go right down to Walmart and get yourself rice, beans, very, very reasonably priced. And we had discussed this in another context when we were talking about food storage. You can grab 2 or 3 extra cans of soup or fruit or green beans or whatever as you're shopping and just add that to your little food storage cubby. In terms of where to store, we all have space in our cabinets that we are not using or not using efficiently. And that's one of the things I've realized, that in most kitchens, it's not a problem finding food storage spaces. What is a problem is finding food storage spaces that are readily accessible and remembering to go in, and those cans of green beans or potatoes or beef stew or whatever, remember, you're going to circulate that into your regular menu planning. So if you've got 4 cans of green beans in storage in your, I'm saving this for 2 weeks, make sure you're taking them out, using them, replenishing them. And as I said before, this is a great time to do some experimenting. I went out recently and found some fruit. It was pears in chia. I'd never even heard of that before. And I just bought it. I said, well, I'm going to look at this. I'm going to try it. If it's good, I'm going to get some, throw it into food storage. And it's in plastic. It was not in a jar. It's in a plastic container. Plastic, as I mentioned before, is not an oxygen barrier. Plastic is not a permanent storage medium. For that, you want glass, you want cans, you want something more than plastic. Foil will do. Foil, especially if you can seal it. So when I look at something like that, like this, pears in chia, I look at this and I think, okay, this has to be rotated into my regular food consumption within 6 months and replaced. It's not going to be something that has a 2-year shelf life. That's okay. Not everything has to have a 2-year shelf life. The good thing about the store what you eat and eat what you store is you do not have to store only long-term non-perishables. You can store short-term perishable items too. Things that have to be replaced every 6 months because you will be pulling them in. Just keep in mind that, you're going to want to move that in. Remember, when you go grocery shopping, well, I'd like to do this or that, but I still need to use up, the 2 jars of spaghetti sauce that were in my food storage, and I need to move that in over the next couple of months. It's just that easy. So if you're doing this and you do it gradually, little bit by little bit, you can do it very economically. Also, we are going to take a look at other kinds of economies. For example, preserving our own foods. And to that end, I went out and got a jar sealer. I'm going to play with that this weekend, and when I figure out how it works, we're going to do a video about it. But I'm not going to do a video about it until I've at least read the instructions, because I just as soon not make a fool of myself. Now, I can do that without trying, and frankly, putting together a video about a product that I've just gotten and haven't read the instructions for, that's really kind of trying to make a fool of myself. All right, let's stay safe. Let's stay sane. Oh, and this is another one of Randy's pieces. This is going to be a future giveaway, and because there are a lot of these pieces, Randy has suggested that I just do a video and show you all of the pieces so you get a chance to see them. Pick out the ones you like. Remember, those are the giveaways you want to get involved in. But this was another one. This one, I don't know. That really should be a giveaway, but I keep thinking, that's my birthstone, so we'll have to see. All right, everybody, take it easy. Take care. Stay safe. Stay sane. Remember, if you're starting to feel like this is getting to you emotionally, reach out. There have been some really wonderful responses from among our viewers, people who have said, I'm here, I'm around, I'd be happy to correspond with someone. Read through the comments. If you feel you need someone, a little sort of YouTube pen pal, go through the comments, reach out. People are here. People are willing to handhold through this crisis. Let's face it, we could all use a little bit of a buddy system right about now. All right, I will see you all tomorrow. You have a great day.